goes Davis. Oh my God! Davis is going to run it all the way back. Oh, he's going to win the football game. That's going to keep him on the field tonight. Holy cow! Appalachian State has stunned the college football world. LeBron is out on the field. He's going to go to the end zone. He did it. He did it. He did it. Oh, touchdown! Calvin Johnson, son of a gun! He has absolutely lived up to the legendary billing.
And welcome to the CSN College Football Podcast, week 4.
4, Jeremy. 4.
All right, week 4. I'm Jeremy, and you are?
I am Deck Row.
Resident ACC troublemakers.
And resident Pickin' Maestro. And resident, you can make your picks opposite mine and get paid.
Pretty much so far. Pretty much so far. We got a lot to cover, and it's late when we're recording, so let's jump right into it. We'll start off with some of the news for this week. Mike Chuawana and Andre Pettis-Wilson, I'm sure I butchered at least one of those names, both starting wide receiver and wide receiver and defensive ends, were suspended pending robbery charges at TCU, which is, as much crap as Baylor was getting for their off-the-field issues. TCU said, anything you can do, I can do better. Want to be like Mike and all that.
Amazing. Kids.
Yeah, if the Fulmer Cup was going on, boy, it would be a hot race this year between Rutgers, TCU, and Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
Central Florida, William Standback, starting running back, was kicked off the team for athletic policy and team rule violations. That sounds a lot like not making curfew, not going to class, and athletic policy, maybe a little bit of extracurricular substances.
Yeah, it's like I'm the man, so I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah, it sounds like, and judging by how Central Florida has just absolutely imploded, it's probably best for the team if him and probably a couple others just get booted off the team at this point.
Yeah.
Stanford, Kevin Hogan, starting quarterback, questionable this week with an ankle injury. Utah State, Chucky Keaton, out for the season yet again. Has he even finished a season yet?
I don't know. I never heard the guy until now. That's a name, though.
You've never heard of Chucky Keaton?
Chucky Keaton. That's a good name for a QB, though.
Chucky Keaton's a baller. I mean, he's one of those make magic happen, improvising kind of quarterbacks. He's great. He's just he makes Deshaun Watson look like a triathlon athlete.
Okay.
That's how injury prone he's been. And he's out for the season yet again with an MCL.
Oh.
I think that's at least his third complete season-ending injury he's had.
Okay. So that's bad news, though. Hate it for him.
Syracuse, their second string, currently first string, presently not playing string, quarterback Eric Dungy is out for the LSU game in all likelihood. He's listed as a head injury. Translation, he's still not entirely sure where he is on planet Earth. He took a really vicious head-to-head cheap shot in the Central Michigan game that got that CMU player ejected. I'm surprised you didn't get the full-on boxer stiff arms kind of thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
His reaction didn't look as bad as apparently it was.
I saw a picture of him being bent over. That's all I saw of the hit. Ouch.
Yeah, he was falling, and as he was falling, the Central Michigan, I think it was a backer who was coming in, sort of launched himself at him, and that ended up being a function at the helmet junction.
Now, is he suspended?
He was ejected during the game, and I don't know what the policy is in the MAC, but I'm going to guess he's at least ineligible for the first half.
All right. Should be.
Wake Forest, John Wolford is likely out for the Indiana game with an ankle injury. Notre Dame, Drew Tranquil is out for the season with a knee injury, although I think he really actually injured his ego. He was celebrating and did one of those flying chest bump things and landed and had a knee injury, MCL or ACL.
He wasn't even celebrating the score. He made a play in the end zone late in the first half of that game, and got all egotastic and did a chest bump, turned around, and landed on his right knee wrong, and fell over.
So yeah, his ego was severely injured for the remainder of the season. And Georgia Tech, a bevy of injuries. Broderick Snoddy starting A-back. Quay Searcy starting A-back. Patrick Gamble, defensive tackle, starting. Roderick Chungung in the starting rotation for defensive end. And Michael Summers, wide receiver, starting, are all questionable, and those are all injuries in the Notre Dame game.
Dang, son. It's like MASH. Do, 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 do. It does.
And this weekend, you're fired at quarterback. Auburn benches Jeremy Johnson for Sean White. Purdue benches Austin Appleby for David Blau. And South Carolina benches Perry Orth for Lorenzo Nunez.
Wait. What happened to the first guy? The guy that started against North Carolina?
He was either injured or he was already benched.
Dang.
They had already gone on to Perry. So Spurrier has gone to number 3. You know, he's like that really tired, angry pitching coach who keeps coming out to the mound and signaling for the righty.
Oh, the Nationals head man?
That bullpen's about as effective as well.
Just say it. All right.
So, yeah, a hat trick of teams changing quarterbacks midseason. Auburn, Purdue, and Carolina, which means that Spurrier is probably going through a new visors at a good clip as he rips them up on the sideline.
Yeah.
So on to second down. We're going to review last week and give our Doc Awards. Yes, we're changing the format slightly. It seemed to flow better this way. Coming in, you were 1-4. Impressive. I was 3-2, at least keeping myself over 500, if only just.
I am the kiss of death. I am the person who makes it easy for you to get paid.
Yes.
Just
so
take my picks, go the other way.
Yeah. Breaking down our picks from last week, Georgia Tech at Notre Dame. We both had Georgia Tech. Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
Ole Miss at Bama. We both had Bama. Wah, wah, wah.
And you know what happened there? I'm listening to ESPN, and them guys were saying the football power index says Ole Miss is going to win that game. I'm like, really? Ole Miss? Nah. I'm staying with my pick with Bama. Well,
if Ole Miss was ever going to win the SEC West, this is the year.
Yeah.
Stanford at USC. We both had USC, and we both failed again.
Didn't you say that USC had the best starting lineup?
I said they had the best first string in the country. Now, there's not a lot behind that first string because they only just now got to full scholarship numbers. But I still think they have the best first string. Now, I'm going to have to pull it up now that you mentioned it. Let's see what the scores look like quarter by quarter in that game. Because I would expect Stanford pulled away late as USC got depleted. Let's see. Scores week 3. And, of course, because it's a West Coast game, I have to go all the way down to the bottom. Yes, let's see here. Southern Cal 14-7 through the first. And at the half, it was 24-21 Stanford. Break even in the third quarter, and Stanford won the fourth quarter 10-3.
All right.
So, yeah, it was roughly a draw until the fourth quarter, and then Stanford pulled away.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, going back to where it was. Illinois at North Carolina, we both had the Heels. Surprisingly, when we both picked them, they won for once.
Yeah.
Northwestern at Duke, we both had the Dukers. Wah, wah, wah. Nebraska at Miami. You had Miami. I had Nebraska. And if that game was about 2 minutes longer, my Nebraska pick would have come through. Virginia Tech at Purdue, we both had the Hokies, although we both probably didn't predict the Hokies to smash Purdue the way they did.
Yeah.
Pitt at Iowa, we both took Iowa, although we probably didn't think it'd be as close as it was. Auburn at LSU, we both had LSU, and had I known that the Auburn defense was mouthing off about Fournette before the game, I would have taken LSU on like a double or triple down bet in Vegas. BYU at UCLA. We both had UCLA, and we both escaped on our pick there. Although, no, wait. I had UCLA. You had what? BYU, didn't you?
I don't remember. What's on your sheet? Was it?
That's what I'm correcting. You had BYU there.
Okay.
And Florida at Kentucky, you were believing the Wildcat hype, and I was not. Again, the Florida offense may still be stinky, but that defense is for real.
Well, we're going to see on Saturday how real it is. Well, actually, you might have a point because Tennessee's offense this week, I ain't so sure about.
We'll get to that game in a little bit, but you know, I'm not sold on the Florida offense, but the Florida defense is for real.
Okay.
So coming out of last week, you are 5-11. Wow, well done. You're playing a bit like North Carolina's defense.
Hey, the season's young. Got time.
And I am 9-7, just barely keeping myself above 500 again. All right, on to our Doc Awards for last week's games. And my first award, and I believe this is the second time he's gotten it.
Boy, you talk about bad intentions.
Baker Mayfield, quarterback for Oklahoma, 32 of 38, which is pretty good to begin with, but for 487 yards and 4 scores. It's ridiculous.
Ridiculous. He just kept going after he beat Tennessee, kept going.
And my next pick
That's like defying gravity.
Is John Croft Hollingsworth, place kicker for Furman, who drilled a game-winning personal record, school record, 55-yard field goal to beat the Fighting O'Learys of Central Florida.
Oh, that's who they beat. Oh, no wonder that kid up there got suspended for team rules. He probably pissed off.
Yep. Furman drilled a 55-yarder with no time remaining to win 16-15 in Orlando.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yep. Central Florida is in full implode mode, making they are my first legit top 25 pick from the first episode that I made that has completely gone off the map.
Well, mine's Tennessee, so we might be even.
All right, and my third Doc Award goes to
An absolute cyclops.
Paul Perkins, running back for UCLA, 26 carries, 219 yards on 26 carries. Now, that's a healthy average for you. And 1 touchdown. So on to your Doc Awards.
On to my Doc Awards. Our first award goes to...
That was a slobber knocker there, buddy.
running back C.J. Prossie for Notre Dame. 22 carries, 198 yards, 3 touchdowns as the Irish demolished Georgia Tech Saturday. Very impressive. Our second award goes to...
I mean, that's like defying gravity.
Almost defying gravity, but Navy's rushing attack against East Carolina. 75 carries for 415 net rushing yards. If you imagine Forrest Gump running from coast to coast and back, that's Navy's attack Saturday. It seems like. And our final, last but not least, Doc Award goes to
With reckless abandonment.
For Chad Kelly, quarterback Ole Miss, for no other reason than that 66-yard touchdown pass where he had to scramble, took a hit, just threw the ball in the air to someone that got caught and scored. Plus, he went 18 for 33 for 341 passing against the vaunted Nick Saban defense.
Yeah, I wonder how much of the defense at Alabama was Jeremy Pruitt, I believe. What wasn't Jeremy Pruitt the before he went over to Florida State? I'm pretty sure he was at Bama, because the new guy at defensive coordinator for Bama is Kirby Smart, and he was the mastermind behind the recruiting class that won the 2009 title at Georgia Tech. All those NFL studs, he recruited them.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Coaching career. Yep, from 2007 to 2009, he was at Alabama as director of player development. 2010 to 2012, he was the secondary coach at Alabama. And when was the last time you had that complete shut-em-down defense at Alabama?
About 3 years ago. 4 years ago.
Right about when he left.
Yep.
All right. So there's your picks. And now we'll cover some of our continuing sagas in crappy football. Starting with hashtag go big and go home. North Carolina blasted Illinois by 30-plus points. Minnesota escaped by 3 against Kent State.
Was that game in Minneapolis, or was that game in Kent?
I would be shocked if that game was not in Minneapolis. Let's see. Kent. Well, hold on. Stupid top 25 filter. Let's bring up the Maction. And that game was played.
Ding 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 ding.
As in Minneapolis.
Wow. What's the deal?
Yep, that was in Minneapolis. So they escaped by 3, and at the half it was 10-0 Minnesota, and the second half Minnesota was shut out and Kent State scored. Dilly Bardan is not pleased.
No.
Miami, 36, Nebraska 33. That's a game that qualifies as both go ACC and go big and go home.
Yeah.
Nebraska sleptwalked, and by the time they woke up and furiously thundered back on the sleeping Al Goldens, it was too late. That was a game of first half inept and second half inept, one by each team. Number 1, Ohio State 20, Northern Illinois 13.
I heard I heard this on the radio that mentioned that Cardale Jones should have gone pro last year because he would have been picked in the top 10 last year. He's going to have problems getting out of the first round this year.
I believe Cardale Jones is who they're starting at running back, right?
No, he's
quarterback.
Yeah, QB. He's the two-headed QB thing.
I know at some point in that game, the starter for Ohio State rode Pine.
Yeah,
he got benched.
Yeah, he got benched. He was the starter. He got benched.
Northern Illinois was actually ahead for a good chunk in that game.
Dear Lord. All right.
Yeah, I know that lots of Northern Illinois fans losing their minds on that side, on the website for a good hour or so, streaking through the quad, kind of losing their mind. Virginia Tech 51, Purdue 24, which answers the question: who does Michael Brewer need to play to look like a real quarterback? Purdue.
No, did he play that game? He didn't play that game.
What?
He didn't. He didn't play that. I don't remember him playing that game.
But I'm going to have to
hang
pull
on.
up the box score.
Yeah.
Brendan Motley, 15 of 24 for 220 yards, 2 touchdowns. He didn't play.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Michael Brewer is still out.
Wow.
Which is probably a good thing.
That's why they got 51. Oh, dear. Indiana 38, Western Kentucky 35. The Hoosiers escape being sun-belted. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games qualifying for go big and go home.
Yep.
On the ACC side of the slate, we've actually done one better when you include the Miami game. We have 7.
7.
So we've already covered the Miami game. Number 11, Clemson 20, and Louisville 17. That was the worst offense I have seen by Clemson under Dabo Swinney.
That was a very ugly played game. It was just why are you on TV?
Offensively, super uninspired football everywhere. Yeah. Florida State 14, number 9, Florida State 14, Boston College zip. And really, if not for a bit of a fluke play, that should have ended 7-0.
Yeah, and I texted somebody that game reminded me of an old SEC overhyped battle between Bama and LSU. No scoring. Just awful.
No, it can't be Bama LSU. There wasn't 80 field goals attempted.
Oh, okay. Point.
Syracuse 30, Central Michigan 27 in OT. I'll cut the Orange some slack because they're down to the third string at quarterback because they lost Dungy in that game. And while Dungy was in the game, they were rolling Central Michigan pretty well. Number 8, Notre Dame 30. Number 14, Georgia Tech 22 in a game that was nowhere near as close as that final score suggests.
Nope.
With 50 seconds left, Georgia Tech scored, got a 2-point conversion, an onside kick, and scored again.
Nope. That game was not close at all. It was amazing how Notre Dame's defensive coordinator handled that option attack. Just
the takeaway from that game for me was that the A-backs at Georgia Tech were exposed. After quarterback, A-back is the most important skill position in that offense because the A-backs have to not only do proper pitch relation, but they're doing most of the pre-snap motion, and they still have to be able to do timing plays like the rocket toss, and they still have to do passing routes because they're in the passing game as well. And, they're usually the lead blocker and the blocker that seals the edge. They're doing quite a lot. The only person on the field doing more is the quarterback, and they got rolled most of the game. Granted, Tech lost 2 of their 2 starting A-backs during the course of that game, but still, that was ugly at A-back.
Speaking of ugly, the next one on your list is what?
Cavman 35, and as the Virginia fans like to say, the college that was so bad when Thomas Jefferson graduated from it, he decided to start his own college, William and Mary 29.
Man, how many games do you see Mike London getting through before this season's over?
I want to see what Cavman does this week because I'm wondering if that wasn't a 100% look-ahead game. Because Virginia has Boise State coming to Charlottesville.
Yeah, Boise State without their QB.
Yeah, and that's a game where I want to pick the upset, but every fiber of my being just finds it offensive to pick Virginia to do something on behalf of the conference in football.
Yeah.
You never go caveman. You go caveman, you go home empty-handed.
No, you go home with 5 slumping calves over the wall.
And rounding out our hashtag GoACC action, Iowa 27 and Pitt 24. Pitt going, woo, look, we're going to win one out of conference. And then Iowa hits a 57-yard field goal with no time left to win.
Oh, I feel your pain, Pitt. Feel your pain.
So the Pitt futility sparked an article by the ESPN ACC bloggers, and we'll sort of bring out some of the highlights from that here. The Pitt-Iowa game is the 32nd straight time Pitt has lost a game in which it trailed at any point in the fourth quarter. Their last come-from-behind win was the 2009 Meineke Car Care Bowl, where it won over North Carolina. Hashtag GoACC.
Go ACC.
Since the 2009 Car Care Bowl, Pitt has lost 13 games in which it was tied or ahead in the fourth quarter, the second most of any P5 team. And overall, they've now lost 18 games decided by a touchdown or less since the start of 2010. 18 in 5 years, which is tied with none other than Iowa for the most by any FBS team. Iowa, by the way, for people who aren't familiar with the situation in Iowa, Kirk Ferentz apparently hired the same agent that Paul Hewitt hired when he was at Georgia Tech, because Kirk Ferentz has one of those golden, platinum, unobtainium parachute contracts. It automatically rolls over, and it automatically raises his salary every year. And if you intercede at any point, you buy out the full length.
How did he do that? Wow.
Like I said, apparently he had Paul Hewitt's agent.
Mm.
So, yeah, for Iowa to get rid of Kirk Ferentz, they're basically going to have to cough up the better part of $10 million.
It's a good job if you can get it.
So anybody out there, if you're in the head coaching business, hire Kirk Ferentz as agent.
Mm-hmm.
So, by the way, for the Pitt fans wondering why they keep losing close games, to me, when you keep losing close games consistently, and I have some experience with this, Georgia Tech basketball, the hallmark of losing close consistently is a lack of playmakers, and particularly a lack of playmaker quarterback, or in Georgia Tech's basketball's case, point guard. And the question I would have is, and see if you can answer this one for me, who is the last good Pitt quarterback you remember? Somebody who wasn't just, quote-unquote, a game manager, but somebody who could go out and win the game for you.
Dan Marino? That's all I got.
You went way back.
That's all I got.
You went way back. Holy cow. My answer to that is simply question mark. Since they've been in the ACC, I don't know that they've had one.
Yeah, they haven't had one since they've been in the league. It's been a while since they've had one. They've had receivers.
And Wojtek is in it. Wojtek is a game manager, nothing more, nothing less. He's not the guy who'll take the team on his shoulders and go win.
Well, got to do better.
So on to third down, our sort of open mic segment. I have a little bit of free-floating hostility here. My hostility is directed to the ACC. Collectively, we as a conference need to get our shit together. The top half of the conference universally embarrassed itself this weekend. Clemson sleepwalked and nearly lost to Louisville. Florida State did some sleepwalking and nearly lost to Boston College. And Georgia Tech sleepwalked and lost a bunch of players. Paul Johnson kept saying in the offseason, we're not as good as you people keep saying we are. And he specifically griped in the first two games where they blew everybody out about blocking. Paul Johnson being the blunt person he is, going into the half at against Tulane, he was up, 4 touchdowns at the half.
Mm-hmm.
And, the ACC Network sideline reporter goes, Coach, what do you think about the first half? And he was immediately into a tirade. I think we need to block the middle linebacker. I haven't blocked him yet all game. It's nice to be able to see somebody block him for a change. And those chickens finally came home to roost against Notre Dame when unblocked players couldn't be juked because they have a bit more talent than Tulane players.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me say a few words about the ACC while we're here, because I don't know who's the best school in the league now. I thought it was maybe Clemson, Florida State. A lot of folks on our board said Louisville, to which I said, no way.
I'm going to have to sort of go ahead and disagree with the way you phrased that. Let's go with least incompetent. Best implies achievement.
Oh,
I don't really think we have achievement so much as we have less unachievement.
Okay, so with that in mind, still Florida State, and well, I'm not really sold on Eric Golson yet at QB.
Golson is Reggie Ball. I'm telling you, the more he's going to play, the more he's going to Reggie it up.
Yep, Clemson, I have a little more faith in because of Deshaun Watson, but still, if he gets hurt again, that changes everything. To me, my sleeper pick in that whole division when we started this podcast was NC State, and that's still the case today. They got the best defense, and I think the best QB in that division with Brissett. On the other side, it's a cluster. I couldn't. Who you got? Because I thought that we had Yellow Jackets doing something. No. Maybe it's the Hokies. I don't know.
No.
I mean, I can't say Carolina because I don't trust Marquise Williams.
Good thing you didn't say Carolina. I didn't have a drink to consume immediately after you said that. If you did,
yeah, I don't. Duke, I don't know. Duke look good defensively. They're good. Offensively, they got a lot of issues. Maybe it's Miami. I don't know.
No, just no. It's gonna be Duke or Georgia Tech.
Okay,
with a slightly insulated snowball's chance in hell for Virginia Tech.
Okay, I can buy that for now. But it's frightening. I don't know who's. No one's really.
Duke's offense is offensive, and Georgia Tech is good on defense but shallow and can't block anybody on offense when they play somebody who's actually talented.
You know, I got my crawl Saturday. I'm watching this game at the stadium, and Duke is up 7-0 with the ball in the red zone. And I think it's second down, and they call this delayed screen to the right side. And so Thomas Surt, the QB, he sees this 6'3" defensive lineman in his face looking at him. He throws the ball. Like, what are you doing throwing the ball for? Gets picked off. And that really began the end of that game for Duke because that kept them from scoring 3 points.
Duke was lucky to escape the first half without giving up the backward lateral.
Yeah, because that was – I saw that and I came back to my seat. That was a blown call. That was a lateral.
When it went to replay, and I was watching this only sparingly because I was – driving to the Braves game, so I was watching goal line was how I was keeping up to date with it. Mm-hmm. On replay, they overturned it. It was ruled a lateral for touchdown, but replay overturned it.
Was the replay right? Because I saw a replay on the screen, and I thought there was a backwards pass on the replay.
It was a moot point because Northwestern took the kickoff and housed it.
Yep, sure did. Sure did. So, moot point. Moving on.
So, as much as we like crapping on the ACC because it's fun laughing at the conference's futility, the Big Ten. Well, first off, they lost some luster at the top after Ohio State went full derp. But the bottom half of the Big Ten is it's stinky.
Yeah, it's atrocious.
And the ACC Big Ten Challenge, what was the final tally in that from last week?
The ACC won that week. They won this week's challenge last week.
Yeah,
Let's
so
see.
Iowa won. Illinois lost.
Northwestern
Nebraska
won.
lost. 2-2. And Purdue got blasted. 3-2 ACC wins.
Yep.
With Indiana Wake on deck for this week.
That's gonna be a lot of go. Somebody, You know, that might be one of them moments we see a 0-0 score.
No.
Again.
With those defenses, you'd be far more likely to see, 62-58 or something like that.
At halftime or the end of the game?
End of the game, they're not. It's not so much that the offenses are great; it's that they really are terrible. So yeah, the bottom of the Big Ten really stinky. But upon further review, it turns out Northwestern doesn't suck, and they're not an aberration like I thought they were. And it turns out Stanford doesn't suck either, since they did beat Southern Cal.
Well, Northwestern's defense is very good. Their QB has some issues throwing the ball.
You're saying they're a bit like the Big Ten's Duke.
Yeah, they're the Big Ten's dude. They got a good defense. Their QB running the ball's okay. Him throwing the ball is questionable. His first pick Saturday was like, "What are you doing, son? You're throwing in double coverage. Why?"
And and moving on to the last topic in our open mic segment, something I think will share an immense amount of schadenfreude over. ESPN, the worldwide leader in cupping the SEC's balls gently but firmly, is expected to lay off a couple of hundred employees. And amongst that news was they were going to be switching to in-studio broadcast coverage crews like FS1 does. Before we get to the whole economics of them laying off, that whole in-studio coverage thing, well, first off, I think a consequence of that is that the broadcast coverage, which is already coming from ESPN in low quality, will suffer even further, because I watched the FS1 game where Dave Wanstatt and the crew was covering it from the Los Angeles studio, and that is the most unprofessionally called game I've ever heard. The FS1 crew, because they're in their own studio and not at the stadium, were openly crapping on Conference USA. It was the FIU Miami game I was watching. Mm-hmm. And they were openly pissed and belligerent and just shitting on Conference USA the final 7 minutes of that game, to the point where they're begging Miami players in the pros who used to be Canes, begging them to tweet them so they can read something on air that's not so boring. And if I were the commissioner of Conference USA, I'd be hurling bricks through the windows of FS1 if they did that. I would be lighting a fire under their ass. And I expect ESPN will suffer in quality similarly by moving it to the studio, because when you're at least at the stadium, you feel like you're somebody's guest, and you dial down your inner douchebag at least a little.
Just a little bit. A little bit.
So as for why they're laying off a couple of hundred employees, as cord cutting keeps rolling on, the amount of income coming in from cable subscribers has plummeted, and that is the bread and butter of ESPN's revenue. They bank on getting that $7 a month for every cable subscriber on Earth. And when people get tired of paying the larceny for ESPN and Turner and all those others and cut the cord and go to Netflix, ESPN is one of the bigger losers.
Oh, That's so sad.
And really, they're not hurting yet. What they're trimming is fat, and there's a lot of fat to trim at ESPN right now. If you think about it, they have, like, the example I like to give is the DirecTV championship drive bus, which is like a rock band quality touring bus. And they drive that thing all over the country for what, 2 5-minute segments a week?
Can they get rid of Skip Bayless?
We can hope. And Dave Pollock and
Mark May.
And insert plethora of SEC quarterbacks here.
If we can get rid of Mark May, I'll consider that a win.
I haven't seen Mark May since last year.
I watched him on the TV this weekend during the halftime. He was in the studio with John Sanders. He was god awful.
He's probably still bitter that he got punted from college football final and some of the other stuff. Not that they made college football final any better, by the way, getting rid of Holtz and May. Without Reese Davis, college football final is
just trash.
It's truly awful right now.
But Mark, he just talked bitter. Just please go away.
Yeah, there's and the crazy thing about it is a lot of those ESPN. Well, first off, I don't think there's a single on-air talent that makes less than 6 figures at ESPN. You know, maybe some of those once in a while come in people like the guy who comes in to give you. He's a referee consultant, so he can tell you the same damn rules slightly differently on air as they wait for the review. That guy probably doesn't pull down 6 figures, but all the other guys are well into 6 figures. Some of their personality people, like the Dan Patrick, Colin Cowherd kind of people, they're like 7 figures. Lot of fat to be trimmed there.
Yep. This time. Yep.
And frankly, I wouldn't shed too many tears if ESPN fell apart and crumbled and the conferences themselves could pick up the pieces and start their own networks.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. We should do that. Oh, never mind.
So fourth down, on to our picks for this week and the big games coming up. And I'll let you take the lead here as usual.
Okay, folks. As you know, if you haven't heard, I run the critically acclaimed 4th annual ACC BBS football pick'em for our site. If you want to play and make some picks, come on in. We'd love to have you. As for this week, we have, how many games we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9 games to pick between me and Swag. He's winning now. That will change by week's end.
Dude, I could go over and I'd still almost be ahead.
Listen, you ain't got to say all that.
Oh, Mr. Trash Talking Wrestler. Don't like it when it's coming back at him.
That's not called for. It's in my contract to talk trash, not yours. I talk trash. I'm just kidding. Anyway, Boise State at Virginia. Who you got?
I want to pick Virginia really badly. I do.
No, you don't.
And I do. And I think part of that is last week they were looking ahead. So they're not going to feel good about themselves after that. I'm sure they got the practice from hell this week. And secondly, Boise State is going a very, very long way across the country to play, which is a huge hindrance.
When's kickoff for that game? Hang on. Kickoff is 8 p.m. Okay. Continue.
But, even the late kick won't help them that much. It's such a huge just being on a tiny little plane that long, it's got to suck. So I want to pick Virginia, but I just can't bring myself to pick Caveman. You never pick Caveman. You pick Caveman, you go home empty-handed. So I'm going to go reluctantly with Boise.
Who is Virginia's head coach?
Mike Luck.
I'm picking Boise. I'm sorry, I can't pick Virginia. The kickoff's at 8 o'clock. That's enough time for them to adjust to their regular clock. They beat Virginia Tech 5 years ago at the same time. on Monday night.
Boise State was a lot better team 5 years ago.
This is Virginia we're talking about. Okay, this is Virginia. And you got Mike. Yeah, I'm taking Boise. I think that Mike London's in huge trouble. Huge trouble. Next up is Georgia Tech at Duke. Number 20, Georgia Tech at Duke.
I'm picking the Jackets mainly because I think the Georgia Tech defense should hold the Duke offense most of the game. They should probably keep them pretty well in check. And I expect a world of hell, fire, brimstone, and fury to have put the fear of God into the A-backs at Tech. And I expect them to still look incompetent, but still have just enough moments of competence to allow Justin Thomas to do some work. So I expect the game will be surprisingly low scoring. Probably neither team gets past 30. But I like Tech in a scrappy, semi-ugly played game.
Okay. There are a bunch of reasons why I would want to take the Yellow Jackets, but you're missing two A-backs.
Not for sure. They're questionable. They're not out for sure.
I have no idea why I'm doing this other than I just have a hunch. I'm taking Duke.
All right.
I'm taking Duke. The over-under is 59.5. Take the under.
Yes, the under. The under seems like easy money there.
Yep. Up next, our weekly Go Big and Go Home game. Bowling Green State University at Purdue.
I'm going with Bugs. Purdue got blasted by the Hokies running out their backup, and Purdue also got blasted already by Marshall. So it appears to me like Purdue is trying to play Pokemon with out-of-conference losses to all the other conferences. Purdue's got to collect them all, so they're going to collect one against. They're going to collect one against the MAC this week to go with their Conference USA and ACC losses.
That's good. That's pretty good. I will take Bugs as well. Bowling Green. More Maction, or also known as Go ACC, waiting to happen. Northern Illinois at Boston College.
I've got Boston College partially on the strength of the BC defense, but mostly on, I suspect Northern Illinois will be physically and emotionally drained from last week's letdown.
I got Northern Illinois for the same reasons, just reverse. I'm quite sure BC will be physically drained too from the FSU game, and I think they have something to prove. The Huskies do.
All right.
Number 24, Oklahoma State at the Fighting Charlie Strongs of Texas.
So I'm actually going to go with Texas on this one. I got to see a fair amount of Texas and UCLA and Texas and who was it they played last week?
Cal.
And Cal. Texas has actually looked markedly better each week the last 3 weeks. And I am not at all sold on Oklahoma State. I think they're ranked purely because they've rolled over a soft early schedule.
The better question is, will Charlie Strong be the head coach at season's end?
We need more results to render that judgment.
Oh. I'm taking Oklahoma State because I don't, for reasons I don't yet understand yet. I just have a hunch that Texas, they just off a cliff. The wheels are falling off.
I think Texas is going to run for many, many yards against Oklahoma State. The running game has really come alive the last couple of weeks for them.
All right. The big SEC matchup of the week, Tennessee at Florida.
I'm going with Florida, and based on what I've seen so far, the Florida defense is for real. They are legit. The Florida offense is a stinky turd. But defense, if you're going to choose one unit to be great, you want it to be defense.
Here. I got Florida as well. Number 3, and it should be number 2, but they're number 3, Texas Christian University at Texas Tech.
This is probably the best chance for a shocker of the week due to TCU's attrition thanks to the Fort Worth Police Department. I'm going to go with TCU, but I think it'll be a pretty high-scoring shootout type of a game.
Let's see, what's the over-under? I should have bet that last weekend with Duke Northwestern, the over-under. I got paid. Anyway, hang on. The over-under is 79.5. Texas Tech is a 7-point underdog.
Only a touchdown dog.
And
the game is in Lubbock.
The game is in Lubbock. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
I may have to.
That's it's one of those. See, you're at the spot I'm at with Virginia. You want to pick them, but it's hard to do it.
Who did they play last week? Texas Tech. Texas.
They played Arkansas.
I mean Texas TCU. Who did they play last week?
Oh,
because you got to see how physical the game was last week.
Let's see. And TCU played SMU, and SMU rolled up 37 points on them. 56-37.
I'm going to take TCU, but with very strong reservations.
And even as high as that over-under is, boy, I think it's still going to be over.
Take the over, folks. Take the over. Okay, number 9, UCLA at number 16, Arizona. Where have they been at? Arizona.
What do you mean?
They've been hiding under the radar all year. I haven't heard a thing out of them all year.
So part of that's going to be their skill. Let me pull up their results.
They're 16th in the nation, really?
Yep. So they opened with a close win against UTSA, 42-32, the Fighting Larry Cokers. Then they went on the road to Nevada and won 44-20. And they sent Northern Arizona into a new zip code last week, 77-13.
Okay, so who you got?
I'm going with Desert Storm. I think this is going to be the first defense that can do enough to confuse the freshman, Jay Rosen at UCLA, that also has an offense good enough to put up enough points to stay ahead. So okay. I think it's going to be UCLA is going to be down big early as they keep throwing stuff at the freshman he's not prepared for. And by the time he gets it figured out, it's going to be too late, but he'll thunder back and get it close.
Well, that's kind of sad. Hang on 1 second. I got to check one key statistic, and then I will give you my pick. Now, which I've done this earlier. Let's see. I'm looking for defense.
Defense for which team?
I'm looking for defensive stats rankings. Like who's leading the nation in defense, total defense. And once I find that number out, folks, I'll be happy to give you a pick. Because my gut says take UCLA. And I know they ranked higher. I mean, both schools are ranked low in the football power index, but UCLA was ranked a little bit higher in the index than was Arizona. See, hang on. Total defense. Here we go. Total defense.
I can help you out now that I've got that pulled up myself.
I got it. I'm here. 45 is UCLA.
87 is Arizona.
I'm taking UCLA.
Very well, but I think Arizona's competition has a lot to do with where that is.
That's all right. That's all right. And then our last game for this week of picking games on our podcast is number 18 Utah at number 13 Oregon. Who's playing QB for Oregon this week?
I suspect it'll be Vernon Adams. He pretty much didn't play. He could have played last week, but it was a cupcake, so they sat him so he could heal his thumb.
Okay.
Or I don't know if it's his thumb, but he's got something with his hand.
All right. This total defense again, because that's going to be key in this game. How high is Utah? Utah total defense is kind of low, 69.
I'm picking Utah.
Why?
I am not sold on Oregon. They didn't look all that sharp against their cupcake. And I think Utah will be really, really hungry for revenge if you recall the way in which they lost last year.
Oh, yeah. That will never be forgotten. The kid runs the ball to the 1 yard line, makes he scored, and drops it.
Yeah. So I think there's going to be, I think right after that game ended, Oregon got circled on the calendar.
I'm going to take Oregon by, I won't say by, I'll say by 5 points, Oregon.
I'm going with the Utes.
And folks, that ends the Pick'em segment for our podcast for this week. And once again, if you're interested in playing our ACC BBS Pick'em, look us up on the BBS ACC board, and we'll get you signed up real easy.
Yep, and since it's already 1:45 and not all of us are self-employed, let's go ahead and get the hell out of here. So until next week, I'm Jeremy.
I'm Decro. We're out. I hope your favorite team wins. Good luck.